Hi, and welcome to Biology for Believers, video 2. In this video, we're going to discuss discovery, science, and inquiry. All science begins with an observation of something interesting that a scientist observes. For our example, we're going to look at the color of the water for this bouquet of flowers I got from my grocery store. If you notice, it's a little bit purple. So we can start to ask some questions. Why is the water turning colors? What would happen if I put a flower in colored water? And what would happen if I put a colored flower in clear water? You always want to take very detailed notes. I can actually remember an example from my 3rd grade teacher. She had everything out for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and told us to write down, how do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Give me instructions. So we all wrote down maybe 3 things. So when we read our notes or our instructions to our teacher, we said, well, you take the peanut butter and put it on the bread. So to prove her point, she took the whole unopened jar of peanut butter and put it on top of the unopened bag of bread. We quickly figured out that she wanted a few more details than that. So we changed our notes to be undo the top of the peanut butter, open up the bread, take out 2 slices of bread, take out a knife and scoop in the peanut butter, and so on. The point of that story is to say you really want detailed notes because you have to think about, as you're exploring, if you don't have them, when you go back and look at what you saw and what you figured out, then it would be, you won't know what caused it, or you won't know what to continue to discover. So you want to make sure you choose a specific, or you write down the type of flower. A rose would be different than a carnation, which could be different than a daisy. And the color is important that you write down too. Yellow might look different than blue, which might look different than red, which might look different than pink. You want to make sure you write down the kind of water that you're going to put in. Red would probably have a different outcome than blue. You want to figure out, okay, well, what's the intensity of the water? Think about if I only put in 1 drop of food coloring versus 20 drops of food coloring per 1 cup of water. You want to figure out, okay, well, how long am I going to watch these things? And it's discovery science, so you really don't have to have it down before you begin, but you want to make sure that you understand, okay, day 1 it looked like this, day 2 it looked like this. If you only looked for 5 minutes, you might get different results than if you looked for 3 days. And then finally you want to these are just some basics, but then you also want to consider the length of the stem. You see this picture on the left, and you can see that this stem is much longer than this one here. And what you might get different results depending on how long the stem is. So we're taking the general questions and trying to make them more specific. So as we're looking and discovering that we're more detailed. So our general question was, what would happen if I put a flower in colored water? So let's get more specific. What would happen to a white daisy if I put it in blue water and recorded the color every day for up to 5 days? Notice I said the type of flower, the color of the flower, and the color of the water. Some things I would write down in my notes: the length of the stem, and then you could do it with a white carnation. What would happen to a white carnation if I put it in blue water and recorded the color every day for up to 5 days? So now we're getting more specific on our second question. What would happen if I put a colored flower in clear water? Well, you actually will find some different results. So we're going to, depending on the type of flower that you look at. But in this case, what would happen to a purple daisy if I put it in clear water and recorded the color every day for up to 5 days? Notice we're just recording the flower color. We could also record the color of the water because we're just discovering. We're figuring things out and we're just trying new things. While we're discovering, we can actually create some controls. You can see the white daisy and the blue water. A control means all we're doing is changing one small detail of what we're looking at in our discovery science, in our inquiry. All we change from this left side to the right side is the color of the water. You keep the daisy is the same type of flower, it's the same color, the stem length is the same, and everything else that we have done is the same. You could do the same thing with the white carnation. But with the purple daisy, you'll notice it would be a really fun experiment to discover, or discovery science to inquire about, would be to put the purple daisy into the blue water. So there's lots of resources out there for discovery, science, and inquiry. One I wanted to bring up here is GEMS. GEM stands for Great Explorations in Math and Science. Teachers pretty much share everything. When I first got into teaching, I had a lot of teachers who'd been in teaching for a lot longer than I, and they gave me all sorts of resources. The only ones they ever really wanted back were these GEM books. These GEM books do a phenomenal job teaching discovery science and inquiry. I have listed a few here that are they're for at home. I'm more familiar with the one, the dry ice experimentation. It was really fun. I got it through a local program put on by a utility district to help support teachers. They're really worth the investment. They're high quality. They have a lot of discovery science in them, and they really help students learn how to discover the areas around them and what is around them. Discovery science or inquiry is very different than experimentation. It is really important. It helps lead you to the type of details that you need for experimentation, but it is not itself experimentation, which we'll get into some future videos. So if you would like some more information and resources, please go and check out biologyforbelievers.com.